So,
well, I just wanted to announce about Occupy Wall Street, currently second anniversary, and that there's stuff going on, and I think there's things you can check out online.
I don't know what's going on, but I will certainly go. Is there anyone else that think they will certainly go? So two of us certainly think we'll go.
Thinking about it.
Like yeah.
Okay.
About going down?
I have been in contact with the COPS, Community-Oriented Police Services, to do a study of police behavior in protest movements, specifically Occupy Wall Street, of course. And they're looking for other people to give their input on their experience with the police. And their ultimate goal is to talk about what actually happened and write a manual intended for the cops to use in the future when dealing with nonviolent protesters. So
Very good.
I know that several people have been involved in action, so it makes sense to have any short action report backs now. Is that a good thing? Would we like to do that? Okay. You were recently involved in very interesting action, I believe.
Yes.
The energy exodus?
Oh,
Would you like me to-
yes.
Bill just happens to have been there as well. So we did participate in the energy exodus, which was 70 miles in 6 days. From Fall River across the bay, from Brayton Point, which is the largest coal and oil burning energy producing plant in the region, which we want to close down. And actually there was a brilliant inspiration that occurred to a group within our group composed of including one 8-year-old, about making it into an art center.
Okay.
So we walked from Fall River to Hyannis, which is where opposition to the big Cape Wind project is localized. And there were, I think every day there were between like 40 and maybe 80 people, more on the weekends. But it was a wonderful group of people, and Bill and I can tell you. And I also did go down with the NAACP to Washington, D.C. for the march. The 24th, there were 5 buses that went down from Roxbury. And I guess I would just like to say that the speakers were very unexciting. From my perspective, notably, it's come up that there was only one woman, very similar to the 1963 situation when one woman was allowed to speak for 1 minute. But in the crowd, there was a lot of really interesting stuff going on. A lot of interesting tabling, a lot of small organizations talking radical shit, and it was much better than what was going on up in the front. So
I myself was at the National Gathering of Occupy. We had some superb speakers, Jill Stein, Ricky Ott, Bill Moyer from Vashon Island, doing very impressive things. We had a group from Benton Harbor near Detroit, the place that has been taken over by the emergency managers. And the classic line was, they have no street lights in Benton Harbor anymore because the emergency manager took out the bulbs and sold them.
Greta Puppet will be here for 2 weeks this year. Here for 2 weeks. And they're open to volunteers. It's really inspiring working with them for a week and 2, and you get to be part of the moving chorus in the circus and the pageants.
Annual convention of Veterans for Peace, Madison, Wisconsin. I got to go to the sing-along in Madison. Madison.
cool. Monday, the
House.
Mondays.
I went there and I did some videotape and I put it off on YouTube. And guess what? Solidarity Forever is a copyrighted song.
Oh, no. I heard that OBIT is still meeting, is that true?
Our meetings are sort of when we need to have them. We're doing more around free software education. We hold Linux workshops twice a month at the South End Tech Center.
That's
And then it is time to move into that portion of the meeting where we make decisions regarding Occupy Boston and our actions.
I believe the way it went was to leave $500 for
Yep.
operating expenses for whatever period of time. And taking whatever is left, giving 50% to the street medics, 30% to E5, 10% to Food Not Bombs, and 10% to Strike Dead.
So at this point, we can amend it, we can finalize it as is, at which point it will be paid out. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Does that 85, 89 include money that was pledged that we have unpledged it?
That is the entire bank account
That's
balance.
every,
Bobby?
Well, due to, well, the past few years, I've been working on trying to do something with the homeless, get a homeless group off the ground. In some states, feeding the homeless is illegal. Based on the UN, some of the UN's rights, I'd like to go in and I'm going to need help with that. When I handled mutual aid, everything was accounted for with the dogs. If anybody wants to see any of that, and knows, and I've never asked for anything, but this is my baby. I have spent 3 years on the street.
So what's the name of your project?
Excuse me, sir?
What's the name of your project?
My project is Urban Pioneers, taking over foreclosed properties.
We have a truck. We have a truck donated by Joe, food truck. So we want to do food for the homeless, street homeless, not for shelter people, but we also sell some of it to sustain it, some of the food for those who can afford it. I spoke with Food Not Bomb. Thursday is free. They told us to do that. The money we're asking right now is for repair the truck. It is with the Good News Garage, the car talk people.
just to follow on what someone was saying, we want to sustain it by contributions. We want to get voluntary labor. The truck is now a donation, so that's, there are so many things that we can do for free, and there's also food for free. We would like to establish it on the basis that any person who says, I'm either homeless or unemployed, we'll give them food. And it's just strictly, we take their word for it. Click and Clack, which is the repairs, they're also a co-op actually, but they don't do truck repairs for free. So they are definitely going to be nice to us.
And Linda and then Bobby.
So I'm really for supporting both of these projects as we talked about, and I think they're both in the very, very, early stages. So anyway, I was just saying that both Subla and Bobby have been longstanding, hardworking, responsible, members of our community, and that people have been wanting to support them, and I'm fine with these. I think both of these are sort of in the very, very early stages, and we're not going to be able to know very much in detail about how it's all going to work.
The food truck proposal are gambles in a way because they're at a beginning stage. So having the money go to E5, which we know that they have an established organization, we know that money would be well spent. And so I think it's in keeping with the spirit of Occupy Boston to actually take that gamble, allocate this money to those two ventures. So I like the idea of us saying yes to both of these amendations to our allocation.
When it's about money, there is a huge responsibility for us to. This should be reduced the amount of money, not exactly like it's represented here in this sheet.
I just want to point out that one of the things we're dealing with here is that what we did last time is public information. So E5, Food Not Bombs might well know that we're considering giving them the money. For me, that means maybe it would be good to at least give something.
She and I would like to have our names taken off the accounts. Now, if we leave $500 in for future operating expenses, that means we need to keep an account to keep the $500 in.
I notice that we are now past 8:30. We should make an immediate decision. Do we want to continue for a short time? Do we agree for a 15-minute continuation? Excellent. Let me get a generalized, this is just a general feeling. Do you feel that that would be a good thing? Give away all of the money pretty much as described. So I see a couple of down sparkles. So we have some more comments. I believe you have a comment.
I'm for starting fresh. I think if we had an account with $500 in it, that's pretty fresh. It's not very much. The problem with having me start a We Pay button is we end up, if I might say so, in the same place as we had with the last We Pay button, which is one gentleman started it, and in the end he decided what he wanted to do with the money that went into that account, and $6,000 was spent with it. OB, if it's going to have a We Pay button, it should be an OB We Pay button.
I understand your thought as well. It feels like we're pretty much done with this. Like when we walk away from this meeting, how are we going to feel? And I think that the thought that Linda had expressed really was a positive thought against starting over. The sentiment that we had nothing when we began in every square is true. It's true.
I'm excited by the possibility that we could give all our money away tonight.
So, I notice that we are now at 9 o'clock. Do we want to extend by 15 minutes?
As I said, food not bombs right now, I mean, we can always use money, always, but like, we don't seem to need to like start up something as much, which is why in my food not bombs rule, I think it's fine that this amount goes drastically down. However, I would like to, if possible, advocate for an amount of $300.
We currently owe $4,000 to an anonymous donor who would like to remain anonymous, who is in possession of the truck. The amount that is on the table would enable the truck to move into our hands once we incorporate and have a body to accept the truck, and then the donor will be completely freed of all obligations.
So we now have approximately 7 minutes left.
Okay, so the current proposal is that we give the street medics all of the money they're asking for, $4,294. We give strike debt $908, which is what they were asking for. Then we would reallocate the money that was given to E5 and food not bombs, so that we could give $2,000 to the food truck, $1,000 to Bobby's Homeless Project, and that would leave the money for food not bombs and E5 to $492 to each of those organizations.
And how do we feel about this? I want to see up sparkles or down sparkles. We have one down sparkle and one no sparkle. What would allow you to come to a decision?
But leaving zero, I don't see how we take another step. I think that's the end. I don't want it to be the end. So I will never vote for it, period.
Okay. May I see an up sparkle? I see 75%. Do you see 75%?
Yes.
Then this proposal has passed as stated.